Welcome to Biology, the science study of life. Double circulation mammals depends on the anatomy and pumping cycle of the heart. Because heart disease is such a significant and widespread health problem in human population, scientists have studied the human circulatory system in much greater detail than any other. Its structure and function can serve as a model for exploring mammalian circulation in general. Notice this figure, a mammalian, or shows the mammalian cardiovascular system, the pathway. This figure refers to which has numbers keyed to the circled numbers in that text. Beginning our tour with 1. Notice that the beginning or the right ventricle pumps blood to the lungs via. Notice also 2, the pulmonary arteries as the blood follows through, and 3.1. Notice that capillary beds in the left and right lungs. It loads O2 and unloads CO2. Oxygen-rich blood returns from the lungs via the pulmonary veins to 4. Notice to 4. The left atrium of the heart next to oxygen-rich blood follows into 5. Left ventricle as a ventricle opens and atrium contracts. The left ventricle pumps the oxygen-rich blood out to body tissues through the systemic circuit. Blood leaves the left ventricle via 2.6. Notice that the aorta, which conveys blood to arteries leading through the body. The first branches from the aorta are the coronary arteries, not shown here, which supply blood to the heart muscle itself. Then come branches leading to capillary beds. 7. Notice also 7. Notice in the head and arms for limbs. The aorta continuous in the posterior direction, supplying oxygen-rich blood to arteries, leading to 8 arterioles and capillary beds in the abdominal organs and legs. Within the capillaries, O2 and oxygen diffuse along their concentration gradients, with O2 moving from the blood to the tissues, and CO2 produced by cellular respiration diffusing into the bloodstream capillaries region, forming venules with convey blood to veins. Oxygen poor blood from the head, neck, and forelimbs is channeled into a large vein called 9. The anterior for superior vena cava drains blood from or another large vein called 10. The posterior or inferior vena cava drains blood from the trunk and hind atrium, from which the oxygen poor blood flows into the right ventricle. The mammalian heart, a closer look. A closer look at the mammalian heart using the human heart as an example provides a better understanding of how double circulation works. As shown in this figure, located beneath the breastbone sternum, the human heart is about the size of a clenched fist and consists mostly of cardiac muscle. The two atria have relatively thin walls and serve as collection chambers for blood returning to the heart, most of which follows into the ventricles as they relax. Contraction of the atria completes filling of the ventricles. The ventricles have thicker walls and contract much more strongly than the atria, especially the left contract much more strongly, or especially the left ventricle, which must pump blood to all body organs through the systemic circuit. The heart contracts and relaxes in a rhythmic cycle. When it contracts, it pumps blood. When it relaxes, its chambers fill with blood. The cardiac cycle refers to one complete sequence of pumping and filling. The contraction phase of the cycle is called systole, and the relaxation phase is diastole, as shown in this figure. The volume of blood per minute that the left ventricle pumps into the systemic circuit is called cardiac output. Cardiac output depends on two factors, as shown in this figure. The rate of contraction or heart rate, number of beats per minute, and stroke volume, the amount of blood pumped by the left ventricle. In each contraction, the average stroke volume in humans is about 75 milliliter. A person with this stroke volume and heart rate at rest of 70 beats per minute has a cardiac output of 2.25 liter each minute, about equivalent to the total volume of blood in the human body. Cardiac output can increase as much as about 5-fold during heavy exercise. This is equivalent to pumping an amount of blood matching an average person's body mass every 2 to 3 minutes. Four valves in the heart, each consisting of flaps made of connective tissue, prevent backflow and keep blood moving in the correct direction, as shown here. Between each atrium and ventricle, as an atrioventricular AV valve. The AV valves are anchored by strong fibers that prevent them from turning inside out. Pressure generated by the powerful contraction of the ventricles closes the AV valves, keeping blood from flowing back into the atria. Semilunar valves are located at the two exits of heart, where the aorta leaves the left ventricle and the pulmonary artery leaves the right ventricle. These valves are forced open by pressure generated by contraction of the ventricles. When the ventricles relax, body starts to follow back to the heart, closing the semilunar valves, which prevents blood from flowing back into the ventricles. The elastic walls of the arteries expand when they receive the blood expelled from the ventricles by feeling your bolus. The rhythmic stretching of arteries caused by the pressure of blood driven by the powerful contractions of the ventricles. You can measure your heart rate. The heart sounds heard with a stethoscope or stethoscope are caused by the closing of the valves. Even without a stethoscope, you can hear these sounds by pressing your ear tightly against the chest of a friend, a close friend, for instance. The sound pattern is lub-dub, lub-dub. The first heart sound, lub, is created by the recoil of blood against the closed AV valve.